Today on Locked On Red Wings, the Tkachuk brothers show out as USA rolls over Finland 6-1, and we continue our midseason evaluations with Seider, Chiarot, Compher, Motte, and Cam Talbot.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. Scotty's the host over at Locked On Tigers, as well as a sports writer for C&G newspapers, while I am a color commentator for Oakland University, ACHA, D1 men's hockey. And Scotty, we're going to spend a little bit of time here at the start of this Friday episode recapping USA's first game, Dylan Larkin's first game, as limited as time on the ice as he got to see, of the Four Nations Face-Off tournament, where USA rolled over Finland 6-1, and then we will roll into our midseason evaluations and continue going on there. You can see all the names on the sidebar that we're going to do evaluations on. Scotty, why don't we just kick things off with the 6-1 USA victory over Finland that puts them firmly in first place heading into Saturday's matchups because of the three-point system. What was your first thought upon the game between USA and Finland?
My first thought was my roommate and I made our Alexa play a bald eagle noise. That was legitimately when the clock hit zero. That was my first thought was waka and doing the arm thing.
Great analysis.
Like seriously, I mean, that was a much closer game than it should have been for two periods, and then they blew the top off. Like that was pretty much it. Obviously, we'll talk about the reasons why and difference maker and whatnot. I think is pretty straightforward here, but yeah, man, I like that. I was pumped, and I'm ready for Saturday night, man. I am absolutely locked in.
Yeah, Finland-Sweden is going to be really cool.
I said night, so that joke doesn't land.
You just gotta let me have my fun.
Nope.
I agree with you though, Scotty. It took until the third period for the goals to start going in, but I felt like this game was kind of a ticking time bomb in regards to USA just brought the pressure all game long. And yeah, Finland got on the board first. Nice shot by Jokiharju. I think he only has one goal on the season in the NHL regular season, so it's kind of cool seeing him score. But USA just, from start to finish, was dominating the 5-on-5 play. Their power play took a little bit to get going, but I think they scored 2, maybe 3 power play goals by the end of it. It was almost about halfway through the third period, I was kind of thinking, honestly, I was a little bored. Because it was such a lopsided game at that point, I was like, all right, we know USA is better than Finland. It just took until the third period for the score to reflect that. Difference maker in this game, I mean, I'll take one Tkachuk, you take the other. Who wants to take the one we don't want to say?
Well, I think truly, if you want to go a little bit deeper than that, like I think the difference in this game was the line blender to put them on the same line, because that's
a good call.
That was not the original plan. And again, like you said, I mean, this was a game where USA was outplaying Finland. Like this wasn't like it was really close and USA was getting outplayed and it was some terrible performance or anything like that. They just weren't finding the back of the net. And I think the literal difference in this game was creating the Tkachuk Eichel line. Like that really was the difference. And once that line scored once, they just didn't stop the rest of the game. Like literally they were out there for like the entire third, it felt like too. Just a phenomenal performance. I'd imagine that line is going to stay together now heading into Saturday night. And for good reason. There's a lot of size and speed and skill on that line together. And you could still have Hughes and Matthews together as well. Like you don't even have to split them up. Like you create an incredible top six there. So
yeah, I think that's a really good call by you, by the way, Scotty. Sullivan putting Matthew and Brady Tkachuk. It should have been that way from the get-go.
Yeah.
The idea, I believe, was to kind of spread the wealth. But, I mean, these guys are brothers. They've played together their entire lives. Going to have chemistry. Putting them with Jack Eichel, that's a good call for difference maker. Of course, then I'll just go with the players themselves, Brady and Matthew Tkachuk. As a Red Wings fan, and I hate to say it, Brady and Matthew Tkachuk were huge in this hockey game. A couple beautiful goals. Matthew Tkachuk kind of just firing it and it getting deflected in was nice. But Brady Tkachuk's 2 goals were really pretty as well. Then Matthew Tkachuk just, again, in the paint, scored another goal late. 4 goals out of USA's 6 came from the Tkachuk brothers, and I think it's hard to argue a difference maker any other way. The whole team dominated, but those were the guys who found the back of the net.
Yeah, absolutely, man. The Larkin situation was frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk notable performers, you can go Jake Gensel and Matt Boldy also scored, but then we can move right into Dylan Larkin.
Had a great game. It's kind of everywhere out there.
Yeah, and with the Dylan Larkin thing is frustrating, man, because this is a guy who's the captain of the team we root for, right? And he's in the prime of his career. He's had 3 straight 30-goal seasons, I think going on 4 now. Will be 4 by the end of the season. He's a point-per-game player. He's power play unit 1. He's 3rd in the league in power play goals. And he's a penalty kill 1 guy as well for the Detroit Red Wings now. And he got a total of 17 shifts, 2nd fewest on the team, a total of 11 minutes and 14 seconds, the 2nd fewest amount of minutes on the team next to Brock Nelson. No power play time at all for the guy who's 3rd in the entire league in power play goals on a team that has the 4th best power play. And he did play penalty kill, minute 29. I saw him out there particularly during the 4-on-3 penalty kill against Team Finland. But I just don't understand, and I get that there's only so many players who can play top 6, right? And I understand that this is an incredibly deep team offensively. I just don't understand not putting him on the power play when he's been so lethal there all season long. So especially when it gets to 4, 5, 6, 1, for have his minutes still that limited, I don't know, man. It doesn't sit right with me, but of course it doesn't sit right with me. I'm the host of Locked On Red Wings. We cover the Red Wings every day, right?
Yeah, of course. There's definitely some Red Wings tinted glasses there for sure, but I think it's a very fair criticism. Now, obviously, no one cares because they just won 6-1, and the power play did get going and score by the end of it. So, at that point, it's whatever. But I do think that if they go out there and maybe the power play is stagnant the first couple of times against Canada on Saturday, then that's something that they should seriously consider. I mean, again, you said it perfectly. He literally has the 3rd most power play goals on one of the best power play units in the entire NHL, and is just getting exiled to 2nd fewest minutes on the team. So, yeah.
It's just going to be something we're going to have to live with, because the other thing, too, is you're only playing 3 round robin games. This is straight up youth hockey tournament format, and I love it for that, honestly. I actually love it for that. I was thinking about this watching the game, where in youth hockey, you play a weekend tournament, you play 3 games. 1 on Friday, a doubleheader on Saturday, and then you play your semifinals and your finals on Sunday. Every game mattered, and winning in regulation was huge. And so I kind of love it for that matter, but because of that, you don't have time for the Team USA to kind of go through a little bit of a stumble for Dylan Larkin to get the opportunity to move up in the lineup. The team rolled in this game, and it took a little bit in the power play, but the power play did end up getting rolling, so you're just going to have to bite the bullet, grit your teeth, and bear it, because it worked in this hockey game. And you have the biggest game of the round robin on Saturday against your biggest rival and the other best team in the tournament in Team Canada. So you're going to have to grit your teeth and bear it, because there's not time for them to figure it out. They talked about that. There's not time to make adjustments. You just got to fly with it. And the Team USA will, and hopefully Team USA can beat Canada on Saturday. I just want to talk really briefly, too, though, Scotty, about the uniforms. We were talking about this off air, and we did mention it yesterday with Canada, Sweden. Team USA, obviously I root for my own country. When it comes to international sports, is when the patriotism flows. I start bleeding red, white, and blue in the international landscape. But Team USA is the weakest uniforms out of any of the 4 nations in the tournament. Never been a fan of dark blue, and the white buckets are a misstep.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. That I think they're the worst tournaments, the worst jerseys in the tournament. I don't think they're terrible. I don't think they're not like hideous or anything. They're just kind of plain and boring. And Canada's are classic. And then like Finland's I thought were pretty darn cool today. And then like Sweden is kind of just hard to beat. That's an absolute classic. So. Yeah, I really don't disagree with you.
And see, the thing too is USA they already found the perfect jersey, and it's this one right here, Scotty. It's the one that they've been wearing in World Juniors. It's obviously an homage to the 1980 Miracle on Ice. That uniform with the slightly brighter shade of blue, the USA diagonally across, that is the perfect Team USA jersey. Yet, for whatever reason, the NHL or the IOC committee that puts together the teams for the Olympics continues to want to try and redesign and reinvent the wheel on what is already a perfect USA jersey. I don't necessarily hate this Red Wings or this Team USA uniform that we have for the current Four Nations. I just prefer the lighter shade of blue. We've seen this one before, wasn't a fan. We've seen this one before, really wasn't a fan. So it's just, and this obviously is more than just professional levels. This goes to, of course, the World Juniors and World Championships, different types of international competitions. But just they already hit it on the head with this uniform, and I wish they had just kept with it because it's so perfect, so perfect.
Yeah. I don't hate the take.
Just not the end of the world type conversation, just an opinion that I have. Anyways, we're gonna head to segment 2. When we return, we'll continue midseason player evaluations for the Detroit Red Wings. Stay tuned. When the game tips off, the NBA action is getting started, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on fourth quarter comebacks, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets with a same-game parlay. You're going to love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether you're backing your favorite team for a late game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch 3, you'll never feel like you missed a chance. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Scotty and I are now going to continue our mid-season evaluations for the Detroit Red Wings. Our tiers, as always, our top tier is above and beyond our expectations for that individual player. Again, it's relative to each player. Each player is going to have different expectations. Exceeding expectations, meeting expectations, below expectations, and the bottom tier is failing expectations. Yesterday, we ranked Lucas Raymond, in above and beyond expectations, Albert Johansson in exceeding, Michael Rasmussen and Alex Lyon in meeting expectations, and Andrew Kopp in below expectations. Today, we are going to continue off and lead off with our boy Moritz Seider, everyone's favorite. Scotty, what do you got to say about Moritz Seider about 2/3 of the way through the year?
Yeah, this one's just tough because expectations were so high. You know what I mean? Like it feels kind of weird to not just instantly put him at the very top of any list you make, but like for truly comparing it to expectations, he is doing what I think we expected him to do this year, which is really solidify himself as one of the better defensemen in the conference, at least, if not the league, which I think he's absolutely doing. He's getting a lot of time on special teams. He is the anchor on the blue line. He is comfortably the best defender on the team, and he's one of the best players on the team. I think it's one of the top 2. It's just expectations might have been so high that he can't be in above and beyond.
Yeah, it's tough because last year he was put in such a tough situation and made the best out of a bad situation. His underlying numbers didn't look good. This year, that's not the case. This year, he is still getting the toughest competition in the league, although with McClellan, the deployments have been a little bit more even. He's still leading the league in deployments and difficulty, quality of competition, but just not as stark, which is good. That is a good thing because he shouldn't have been as high as he was. But his underlying numbers this season are fantastic. Scotty, he is, despite getting the toughest deployments in the league, his Corsi 4 percentage, his shot attempt share at 5-on-5 is over 50%. That is incredible for a guy getting the deployments that he is. He's taken over as power play unit 1, power play quarterback 1, which is something we were asking for last year, and Gossespierre was on the team. He's on pace because of that and has just improved offense overall at 5-on-5 to crack 50 points again, which he hasn't done since his rookie season when he was getting just kind of fun minutes, throwing him out there and just seeing what he can do when the team was bad. Yes, there was an expectation for him to be the number 1 D-man, but I think he is at least exceeding expectations in that he is, I think, rebounded better from last season than we actually expected him to do. He has been a number 1 defenseman and a number 1 two-way defenseman at that, and those are hard to come by in this league anymore. And I just, it's either exceeding or above and beyond. I think I'm leading exceeding expectations. But at what point if this is exceeding expectations, what would have been above and beyond? That's the thing. Like, what would have been above and beyond for a guy of Seider's caliber, and what's been asked of him?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, he could be in the Norris conversation, I guess. Like, that's really the only thing I can think of.
Unless he cracks 70 points, he'll never be in the Norris conversation just because of the way that they treat defensemen nowadays.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that.
So I don't know. I want to put him at the very tippy top, but that's extreme bias. Can bias be a factor here? Can Moritz Seider bias be a factor in putting him in above and beyond?
Sure.
All right, we're doing it.
It's our list, dude. Like, do it.
All right.
Our arbitrary list that means nothing. I think we're okay. Yeah.
Well, we do try to be as objective as possible, but you know what? Screw it. We love Moritz Seider, as should everyone. Let's talk about his partner now, though. Current partner in Ben Chiarot, and I'm gonna probably shock a lot of people here. Where is Ben Chiarot? Where? I can't find him. Where are my eyes taking me here? See? Oh, he's right here. There he is. I actually am going to have a pretty positive review of Ben Chiarot, Scotty. This is a guy who, underneath McClellan, is having a much better season now. He's been reunited with Moritz Seider on the top pair, which is something none of us wanted, right? Like Simon Edvinsson and Dylan Larkin were fantastic. Simon Edvinsson and Moritz Seider were fantastic together, and we wanted to keep them on the top pair. McClellan came in and was like, they're great, yes, but we need a second pair, and he was right. And Ben Chiarot has come in, and he still has Ben Chiarot games, but overall he's been very good on the top pair. And he is getting time in overtime as well, actually replacing Simon Edvinsson in moments too. I actually might personally, just because my personal expectations for Ben Chiarot were so kind of tamped down over the first 2 years, I would put an argument in that Ben Chiarot might be exceeding my expectations currently playing on the top pair.
I don't disagree with you. I think if sans Seider, like if we're going truly just based on, preseason expectations, I think he's been better. I think that's partially just due to the fact that we kind of had them pretty darn low going into the year, which is, not as much of a testament to him being anything super, super special this year, but I think that he has been a solid half of the top pair with Seider. He has not, we haven't come on here and given like the Ben Chiarot giveth and taketh away spiel nearly as much this time around than we did the first 2 times he was put with Seider. So yeah, I think exceeding is, for our expectations of him is probably fair.
And again, that's because our expectations for Ben Chiarot were so darn low going into the year too.
Right.
So I think that relative to those expectations, I think he is exceeding it, playing amicably on the top pair under Todd McLellan's leadership now. Let's take a break, head to our second break of the episode. When we return, we'll finish up with Cam Talbot, Tyler Motte, and JT Compher. Stay tuned to Locked On Red Wings. Alrighty, segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Scotty, let's talk about Tyler Motte now. Tyler Motte was a free agent acquisition, recently came back from injury, so in 29 games played, he's only had 4 points, but you know Tyler Motte, that's not what you're getting in him. He's a 13th forward on this team. When he does play, he's a shutdown forward, penalty kill specialist. I think given those expectations, I think he's meeting them. At the same time, with the limited minutes that he's getting, it's hard. He'd have to be very bad to be failing those expectations. And I think given what he was signed to do, he is kind of doing it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I don't think there's honestly too terribly much like conversation there. Like I think he's filling the role that was expected of him. And yeah.
Okay. He is meeting expectations.
Great. Awesome. Look at that.
Good job, Tyler Motte.
Good job, Tyler Motte.
You're a 13th forward who plays penalty kill when you play. Good job. You do your job. Let's see here. We have JT Compher next. Can't miss that red beard. Stands out like a sore thumb. Okay. JT Compher is another guy, Scotty, that I think we can both pretty easily agree he's at least in below expectations, right? Coming into the year, he came off a year last season where he had a good season with Detroit. 48 points in 77 games. He was the second-line center for the bulk of that year. This year, McLellan comes in. He gets demoted to the third pair. He's only got 15 points in 49 games played. Coming off of his injury, most recently, he's on the fourth line. That might just be because the third line was gelling and he came off of an injury. But he's struggled to produce. He's only got 6 goals on the year. I mean, is he borderline failing expectations? Is that the conversation here?
That is, if there is a debate, it is that. I think he's below expectations. I think, like on the ice, he's going to be, parked right in the same conversation with Andrew Kopp. I think that's kind of the fan base is grouping those two. Not that their like style of play is identical or anything, but just kind of as, oh, this guy's going to be the 2C, and then nope, not even really close. And that's happened 2 center signings in a row now, and that one's tough because, and people don't talk about it as much these days. Maybe it'll kind of reignite the conversation over the summer or going forward, but you got to remember how much of the NHL like scoffed at the contract that was given to JT Compher. Like, I'm not saying I completely like regret it or that it set the Wings back or anything like that, or that it's like, crippling the team, because it's obviously not. But there was a large majority of the fan base and of the media that saw the contract the Wings gave JT Compher and was like, wow, that seems a little rich, but if that's the price kind of a thing. And he just hasn't this year. Like you said, pretty solid year last year, but this year just hasn't produced. So I think he's in below. I don't think he's been like a catastrophic failure, but like in the same breath, this is a guy that I think in our most recent game played fourth line.
If you say below, I'll say below because I genuinely, because I could make an argument, I think, for failing expectations, but I don't know. I don't know if I want to go there yet with him. Let's see here, because I'm thinking back about when we put like Justin Holl in failing expectations last year. Mm-hmm. That was because Justin Holl wasn't even playing. Like, you signed him to a 3-year deal and he couldn't even crack the lineup. JT Compher is still an everyday player. He's just not really being effective on the ice, impactful in any way. And I mean, I don't know. If you say below, I'll put him in below, because I can't make a decision on that. And I think part of that might be my bias. I mean, I saw what he did last year, and I just don't want to. Sometimes I don't want to be that harsh, honestly. Sometimes that's just what it is. All right. Finally, we got Cam Talbot. Scotty, he on the season has a .905 save percentage and has overall been pretty pretty solid for the Detroit Red Wings this year. I know his last 2 games have not been great, right? The start against the Kraken and then the relief appearance against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Not the greatest games in the world for Cam Talbot, but he has gone out there at 37 years old and on multiple occasions stolen you games. Where do you sit with Cam Talbot?
Yeah, to be completely honest with you, for me, and this is, maybe just my personal expectations, he's in at minimum exceeding expectations, if not like legitimately has a conversation for above and beyond. I mean, he's come back down a little bit to earth lately, but he's still, if you were to be in the postseason, everybody in the fan base would say Cam Talbot should be in net if the playoffs started tomorrow for game 1, right? Like, he is the number 1 goalie on this team. He has, I mean, in the first 3 months of the year when they were losing a ton of games and the team was terrible, the only reason they even won some of the games they won in that stretch was because he was incredible. He has far exceeded my expectations and is one of the biggest reasons why the goaltending situation in general has been a success story to me this season. So I give him all the credit in the world. I didn't expect what he's been able to do this year. I'm if you want to just go exceeding, I'm totally okay with that. I think that's probably far more realistic. But I think there is a legitimate conversation for just straight up above and beyond.
Yeah, the thing that's stopping me from putting him in above and beyond is the consistency factor of it, because he'll still, just kind of like with Alex Lyon, will still have the odd stinker here and there, not quite as frequently as someone like Alex Lyon will. But, this is a guy that obviously he had a great year last year with the LA Kings, but we all recognize the LA Kings were great defensively, so your numbers are going to look fantastic playing with LA. And maybe this is just because I looked at his age and just assumed we were getting another James Reimer guy on the, looking for another contract down at the end of his career. So I was skeptical because of the James Reimer situation, but he's definitely exceeding. And I understand the argument for above and beyond. Man, I don't know. It's tough. I could put him in either category. I could. I don't feel so strongly one way or the other on this one. It could be on either.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with you. I'm okay with exceeding, I'm okay with that. But he really has, I want to stress how much he really has impressed and gone kind of over what was expected of him.
Yes. So that does it for today's midseason evaluations, right? We got a total of 10 guys in there. Yep.
Yeah.
And so we'll continue this on Monday. We're going to have, obviously, brief recaps of Sweden and Finland and Canada and United States. And then we'll continue this with another 5 players then. And we figured out next week, too. So you'll have content, I think, every single day. And then next thing you know, the season will be resuming. Scotty, any final thoughts?
Play Freebird. We ball, baby.
Freebird. I'm so glad they brought that back as their goal song. Just electric.
So
same time, same place. It's your team every day.
Every day.